January 11, 2024. This is the S&P 500 E-Futures Mini on the 2000 tick chart using the NinjaTrader 8 platform. There's a few pieces of economic data, but they all came out around 5:30 Pacific Standard, which is about right here. We see this big drop. It was the core CPI numbers as well as the unemployment claims. Then after that, there was no other economic data. This is the pre-market highs and pre-market lows that I drew. And this is kind of how I saw the charts today. I took a total of 3 trades. The first one was a winner, and then the next 2 were both red. So I should have just stopped when I was ahead. On top of that, the 2 trades afterwards, they weren't very good entries. I would say the third one was a pretty bad entry. It was a pretty bad setup as well. So I think I got it into my head that, especially after this first loss or the second trade, that it was a setup when there really was not a setup. I'm going to go into the trades right now. This is a pre-market. As you can see, this is where the CPI numbers is the unemployment and the unemployment claims came out. And it just had this big drop. So the market reacted and dropped it roughly about, I would say, 15 points. Well, actually spiked up. So if you took it from the high and all the way down. So this is a pretty big drop. But I'm not around to trade for this news, so that's good. As well as I don't really like to trade when something like that is about to be announced. So then at this point, it looks like it's just going to be range bound, but that's kind of how things look like. Well, actually, yesterday it wasn't range bound, just kind of dropped and recovered. So today, it looked like it was going to be range bound. So I found this yellow channel. It starts moving, prices starts moving up, and then here's the open. The prices are just kind of continuing on up, and I'm thinking the first resistance it might hit would be up here, the pre-market highs. And then it kind of breaks out of this yellow channel. So here I'm thinking it's going to test the highs of this yellow channel. It's going to break and test the extreme. Well, I saw this as a new high, first entry long. This could be argued as one attempt up. So first entry long, pullback, second entry long. The second entry long here, this is the signal bar. I was not thinking of going long when I saw this. And then it starts kind of recovering. So I knew it was a confirmed second entry long, but I also saw this as potentially just one big leg. But I wanted a higher low confirmation. So it chops around, moves up, and I do see a potential higher low. So you don't know that it's going to be a higher low yet because the next candle, if it prints lower, that would be potentially be the higher low as long as it doesn't break below here. So I marked it later, but then I'm thinking, okay, maybe there's a potential higher low here. Now this is actually when I decided I want to enter this trade. So it's confirmed higher low because this candle is actually one tick below the preceding one, and then the next one is actually one tick higher. What I liked about this was it had a break of this green channel, broke out, made one attempt up, pull back. This could be the second attempt up, and this could be the second attempt up, depending on how you saw it, or potentially the first attempt up of this yellow channel. So I decided this is a good enough setup. I entered at the same high, the double top. I actually waited till it broke above a little bit to confirm. I didn't want to have a micro triple top. So I waited till it broke a little bit higher. Then I dropped in my order, came back, picked me up, filled the order. So that was the first trade of the day. It was pretty nice because I knew there was enough room to before I got to the highs. I didn't want to push my luck. Prices then continue. This creates a lower high here. So actually I saw this as a new low. It's a first entry short, second entry short, and then here is a lower high. But here it already is still kind of far from here. I don't have this blue line drawn that's providing the range, so I don't know that this lower high really is going to mean anything because it could still be a first entry long and then a second entry long coming up. So nothing told me to go short here. Comes back, it bounces, consolidates, and then I thought I saw something of a long trap here. So technically it was a new high as a first entry long, second entry long. But I also saw this as just kind of grouped up together as the new high here. So it'd be first entry long, pullback. Here, I think this is where the trap would have occurred. You're thinking going long here because you're thinking maybe the EMA is holding. What I thought was kind of funny was this moved one tick down and then engulfed the entire candle. What would have, I didn't take the trade, but I think if I saw this and I was thinking of taking the trade, what would have given me pause was even if I could group this as the new high, first entry long, second entry long, this isn't a very good signal bar. On top of that, there was a little bit of hesitation. Something this ambiguous, I would need this candle because the signal bar is terrible to close at the very top. to make me feel confident. Plus, the EMA is kind of chopping through the middle of it, so that would also give me pause. And as you can see, if you did take the trade going long, you would have gotten filled, let's say one tick above, and then it would have come back down and stopped you out. So it's just something I noticed. Prices then continue moving down. I don't have this red channel drawn yet, but I don't see any good second entries that I like. You do have a new high here, technically a localized new high, first entry long. You have a second entry long here, but there's no good signal bar, so you wouldn't have thought to go long. I was drawing other trend channels coming down this way, but it didn't really seem to fit and help me all that much. So I did delete this a little bit later. There's a new high, new low. It's a first entry short, pullback, second entry short potential. You don't have a confirmed second entry short. Here, you still don't have a confirmed second entry short. And finally, the second entry short is confirmed. So it's one leg up, pullback, second leg up. Now, I call this an almost setup because it's a possible rejection. Well, this is a rejection of the EMA on this candle. I really wanted this candle to reject, touch here, and then push down. I don't have this range drawn yet. And I wanted this candle on top of that to not only meet the high, but also close more bearish. But it didn't quite do that, so it felt a little unsure, so I had to leave it alone. It looks like if you did take the trade and your stop was one tick above, you would have gotten pretty nervous right here, but you would have survived. Depending on what the profit target was, because there is about 6 ticks. So if you went for 1 point, you would have gotten it. If you went for anything more, this candle likely would have stopped you out. If not, maybe this candle. Price will then continue moving. Kind of consolidates what I thought was a trading range, but didn't hold very well. So I didn't really give it too much respect. And prices continue moving down in this green channel. There's no good clean entries, but these are very, very organized sell-off. Very strong sell-off. Comes back down. At this point, I'm looking for a trend channel. So I actually linked this to this, and I drew it to here. I wasn't sure where the bottom was. I initially had it a little bit higher. I actually had it up here, but then it broke out and it dwelled for a while. So then I actually drew it and connected it down here, which made it look a little bit cleaner. Bounces, creates a first entry short. Well, not first entry short yet. Here's the first entry short. Pull back. Here it's about to create a second entry short. Here, it almost confirms a second entry short, and I thought this might have been a possible trade because right now the EMA is pushing and holding prices down. So right here, you have a small little break, but quickly the EMA pushes it back down. What I noticed here was this is a pretty good signal bar to go short because it closed very bearish. It did get rejected by the EMA. The thing that gave me pause was it bounced off the bottom of the red channel twice, bounced once, pushed up, bounced the second time, but each time it's making lower highs. So that gave me a thought that maybe there's a trade there. I ended up not taking it, but I think this was probably a decent trade. On top of that, the signal bar, which would have been, I guess, this guy, it ticked one tick above this guy and then it flushed down. So here, looks like it would have worked. And prices continue moving. And there's enough room for a scalp. It kind of chops up, it hits the top of this red channel and it breaks out. So this purple one, it doesn't exist yet. It breaks and it falls into this green channel. Technically, you have a new low here, first entry short. The second entry short, but there's nothing here. No good signal bar. You have a new high, first entry long, second entry long, but it is too congested here. So there's no trade for me. I'm just watching it breaks out. And here, this is where I take my second trade. And this is well, fact of the matter is, it was a bad trade because I anticipated a bounce. I saw this potential trading range. I saw one leg up, pull back, and I'm expecting a second measured move up. And I didn't take into account that it potentially bouncing off this trend line, but I didn't have this drawn yet, so I don't have that to go with. So there's no knock on me for not realizing this purple line could be here. What I did see was I saw this as a breakout pullback. I saw this as a failed breakout, and it didn't touch the EMA, but I convinced myself that it's touching the EMA. It's time to go long, quickly get a quick scalp to have another push up because I was thinking, let me draw this. It's a break of this channel, up channel, and I thought it was going to have one push up because EMA was being respected, despite the fact that it was being respected from the bottom side. So This is a quick jump that is a really bad trade. I should have skipped it, and I just kind of fabricated without any confirmation. So I entered here, as you can see, comes down and stops me out because I kept my stop one tick below. I was debating on keeping the stop all the way down here, but that would that would invite a huge risk. So I didn't want to, and it looks like I would have gotten stopped out anyways. So it's a good thing I didn't. Prices then continue moving up. It's in this blue range, but at this point, I was kind of questioning whether this blue range is valid anymore because it had an overshoot here, overshoot here. The overshoots are almost bigger than the range itself. But since I just lost on this trade, about, I would say 8 minutes later, I believed I saw another trade. I saw a new low, I saw first entry short, pullback. I saw this second entry short. The second entry short, I'm thinking, well, it's at the top of, I didn't think it was at the top of the range because I was at this point not believing this is the top of the range. I was kind of debating whether it's up here. So I saw this. I saw when this spiked up before the candle fully closed, I said, obviously, it's a failed second entry short. First entry short, second entry short failure. So without thinking, I just clicked and entered one tick above, which is quite foolish because if I did even believe that this is the top of the range or this was the range that I was respecting back here, but suddenly I gave no respect to here, this is buying at the highs. So this is foolish. The first entry short, second entry short, even though it's a failure, it doesn't really mean anything at this point. To believe that the EMA is being respected at this point is also not valid anymore because as you can see, it already broke through and it went back up. So as you can see, I entered on a long position and it quickly stopped me out, which was, again, a pretty stupid thing to do. Now, I was debating keeping my stop down here when I entered this, but as soon as this closed, I knew I should just keep it my standard stop loss. And of course, flashes through. If I didn't get stopped out, I definitely would have gotten stopped out here. Prices then continue moving down. So after these two losses, after this one win, where I should have just left it alone, of course, this is so early in the day. As with a lot of traders, you're thinking, well, there's more time, I can make some more money. And after this first loss, I should have just closed up shop because that pretty much made me even with a little bit of loss for commissions. But I didn't, and I decided, well, I'm going to take another trade to make it back, which was dumb. And after the second loss, I definitely decided I'm wrapping it up. I'm not taking any more trades, but I will continue watching the charts and marking it. Prices continue moving down, starts consolidating. It falls into what I believe is a screen channel. I marked this, but I call it kind of an almost setup because it's a new low. It's a first entry short, pullback. It's about to create a second entry short. Here creates a second entry short, but it's also started. I counted this as a high, new high, first entry long, second entry long failure, and a potential triple test. The thing I don't like with this is almost setup. It's an aggressive entry because you don't have that much room to localize bottom. If you did try to go for 1 point, you're really pressing your luck. And I was thinking I might be in a range where I didn't quite respect it here. I was suddenly respecting it here, but I also wasn't taking any real trades. So I thought if there was a trade here, I didn't mark it as a potential trade. I just marked it as a potential setup. As you can see, going short would have worked. You would have gotten probably filled down here. And then prices then continue moving. It chops through. At this point, I do play with the idea that this isn't necessarily a channel, but this might be some kind of resistance trend line here. Not necessarily a trend channel yet. So I wasn't really sure, and I didn't give this bottom part too much credibility because there's just so much blank space down here. Prices then hit a new low, starts moving up. I saw this as a new low, first entry short, second entry short. Second entry short, I called it an almost setup as well. The main problem was it's the signal bar is a doji, and whether you count this as a first entry short, this could also be seen as just one leg. So one leg on a bigger time frame. So it could just still be just a first entry short. Looks like it would have barely gotten a scalp out. And if you enter, depending on how many points you're going for, or how many ticks, you might have gotten stopped out. So although this is here, it's an almost setup. Would have been more convincing would have been if this closed on the lows instead of a pretty much neutral doji. Prices then continue moving. It falls into this other green channel. I don't see anything I like. There's an overshoot. Came down, tested, and made a new low. Continues making a new low. Then it goes up, breaks up, and I was watching this carefully to see if it's going to break through the purple trend line, and it kind of does, but it comes right back in. I don't see any good setups that I like. This is a little bit too congested right here. Prices then continue moving up. At this point, I do see a potential trend line here, so I drew this yellow part as a trend line, not necessarily believing that it's quite a channel yet. kind of chops around, kind of goes up this green channel for sure, and it goes down this orange channel, but doesn't look very clean. And here I see another setup that's potentially pretty good. So it's a new high here, first entry long, second entry long, count restarts, first entry long, second entry long. Also, there's a new low here, lowest one, first entry short, second entry short, failed, second entry short, second entry long. Now I thought this was a possible trade, but I didn't quite recognize it in time. And when it closed, I felt very unsure of it because it just closed very bullish, but it did also bounce off the bottom and made a triple test down here. I wasn't sure if there was still enough momentum to push it up, but it didn't really matter because I wasn't taking a trade. But I was thinking if I saw this, would I have taken a trade? I think I would have, and I think I would have probably put it a few ticks back, not necessarily all the way down here, because if the next candle opens, it has to push all the way down, then climb all the way back up. That would make me, I guess, question the strength of the momentum. So I likely would have put it right here at this double top right here. And as you can see, it's debatable whether I would have gotten filled. I think I would have gotten filled and gotten out before it hit the top of the range. And prices then continue moving up. I'm just kind of watching now. And so, excuse me, continues moving up. Let's see here. All right, gotta clear my throat. Moving up. It falls into, now I do draw the other side of the range, other side of the channel to create a yellow up channel. It starts breaking out though, so I look for and find potentially this green channel going up, but I don't see any good clean entries. There is a new high here, first entry long, second entry long. This isn't a very good signal bar. If this closed green, bouncing off the EMA, I think I would have considered taking it, but I would only have the EMA at this point because I didn't have this green channel drawn. And then I would be looking for a higher low, which shows up here, but it's already too late, too far from the setup, and it's already higher than the complete setup itself. So, and too far from the EMA. Right, so then continue moving up. I do see a triple test here. It's range bound because it kind of pushes up and it kind of fights within this range. So I did see a triple test here. There's no real second entry, but this is a small enough candle that I thought might have been worth a risk. But if it only was green, then I would have thought, yeah, this definitely would have been a worthwhile trade to take because you have enough room to the highs. Prices then continue chopping. It falls out of this green channel into this consolidation, and then I looked for and drew this orange channel, which at this point I'm not too confident in because it only has two confirmations. It doesn't look very clean, doesn't fit the ties very well. Until it comes back down to about here, then I thought, okay, maybe there's a third confirmation, depending on how you drew it. New high, first entry long, pullback is a second entry long. It's below the EMA. I didn't like that. If it had only touched this, or at least where it is actually close enough in my opinion, but I needed to close above the EMA. But once the trigger bar closed above the EMA, there might have been a trade here, but as I said, I wasn't trading anymore, but I don't know if I would have taken this or not. So then continue moving. At this point, I am pretty sure that this orange channel might be valid because I have 1, 2, 3 confirmations, maybe a fourth one. Falls into this range though, breaks out, it might be a failed breakout, continues chopping. It's very congested here because there's small candles. Technically you have a first entry long, second entry long, but there's a bad signal bar. Continues chopping, the EMA is holding, so I believe there's a strong uptrend now because it looks like it clearly isn't a correction, it's an actually complete reversal. And it looks like it's pushing all the way back up. So I'm watching carefully to see if it's going to go back to the open and potentially even up to the top. Price is going to continue moving. Here, it kind of helps confirm that this orange channel might be valid. It breaks out of the orange channel now. I'm watching to see if it's going to come back and test the highs. The new high here, first entry long, that's all you have. Technically, you have a second entry long, but it's a little bit too far removed from the setup. It kind of chops around, it falls into this range. I do see a new low here, first entry short, second entry short, failure. Now, technically, it hasn't moved one tick above this previous signal bar, so it's a strong bullish close. It is over the EMA after a push down. What I don't like is, at the time, I was thinking this is a trading range, so it's too close to the highs of the trading range. Even if you lowered it down here, it makes it even worse. So at the time, I was playing it off these highs. So I was thinking there's enough room just barely, but this isn't a good setup. It just feels a little bit dicey. And here, let's see, it looked like you would have had just enough room to scalp out for 1 point, but I'm glad if I was trading this, I'm pretty sure I don't think I would have taken it. Price then continued chopping, kind of falls into this range, and it falls into the last 10 minutes where things get really volatile all the way into the close. That's how I saw the charts today. I should have definitely skipped or stopped while I was ahead with this one trade, but I think I fell into the mode of, well, it's so early in the day. This trade was taken in 5 minutes after the open, and being profitable, I thought, well, clearly, because you don't know what's going to happen. This is all you see. This is all I saw. And I thought, well, clearly, there's so much more trading to be done. I could be making more money. Little did I know this would affect me taking a loss, and then kind of the emotions of it made me take a second loss. So this third trade definitely should not have happened. And the second trade was I was too eager to pull the trigger. I didn't wait for the setup to actually form. I believed and projected a setup in my mind outwards to say like, oh, obviously this is what's going to happen. Instead of letting the chart tell me what was going to happen, I just believed the chart was going to do what I thought was going to do. So definitely something I have to work on. Kind of ending the day in the red. So hopefully that was helpful.